So, I've been playing Arknights for a few years now, and throughout my time playing Arknights, I've had a couple times where I've maybe felt a little bit bored, or felt like I really lack motivation to keep playing the game, and I think it's a problem that a few of us probably experience in waves, to be honest. So today I actually want to talk about one of the ways I actually got myself back into the game after what was a fairly long break. Now of course, it's actually worth mentioning that if you are starting to get bored of playing the game, the best thing to realistically do is just have a break. Obviously in the gacha game category, it is actually quite difficult to do that because of the fear of missing out on things. Of course, you might miss out on limited content, limited characters, and just overall progression. But if you are playing a single player gacha game like Arknights, just remember you really are only competing with yourself. There will always be new content, and regardless, unless you start playing the game from the very beginning of release every single day, super mega efficiently, you will technically always be behind anyway, so you don't really have much to lose in the grand scheme of things. There are obviously certain things that if you miss out on, you will be very upset in the long run, but at the end of the day, if you're not having fun with the game, don't play it. That's just the reality of it. But now, you might actually be thinking, what actually got me back into Arknights then? Well, the main thing I want to talk about today, and something I know a lot of people are probably going to be aware of already, is actually niche nights. Now to people who may not really know what niche nights actually is, it's basically referring to limiting yourself into using specific operators. For example, you might use a specific class, faction, gender, race, rarity, really any factor that stops you from just using every operator in the game. Now, I think most people probably refer to this around clearing stages. For example, you might clear stages with just vanguards. That's a pretty cool challenge in a sense. This might not really sound very appealing to some people, however. So one of the ways of actually going even beyond this, just by making a whole new account solely for one niche, is actually something I have done in the past with my male only niche account, where I only really build male characters. Now, this is actually one of the ways I actually got myself back into the game. This was around, I believe, Stulteria Nevis or Stulteria Nevis rerun. I decided I wanted to do something that was a bit more fun, offer myself a bit of a challenge that was a bit different from the normal gameplay loop. After some time, I decided to actually make this male only account. Now, initially, I did see it was actually going to be quite difficult, mainly because Ansel was basically the only healer available at the time. With Stulteria Nevis release, Lumen did actually come along, so pretty much the perfect opportunity for me to start it. Now, I think it's probably going to be quite common that when some people hear niche nights, they might cringe at the idea of it, or may bring up questions like, how is this really going to get me back into the game realistically? Or why would you limit yourself just for the sake of it? Doesn't that ruin the whole point of the game? And I just want to say that reality is that niche nights is not really for everyone, but if you are watching this video and you're bored of Arknights or found it to be a little bit stale, you probably want to get that feeling of wanting to play again, otherwise you probably wouldn't be watching Arknights videos, at least in my opinion. So I just want to offer this video to people out there who may be inspired by this to try and just do some fun ideas. At the end of the day, Arknights has so many different ways of playing, and sometimes just challenging yourself or giving yourself a target is literally all you need just to get back into it, to be honest. So I just want to very quickly show my account here for my niche. This is my male only account. Like I mentioned before, I have male only characters on this. I'm currently level 78. If we take a look at this, you will see it is basically a niche account. I started this off with just using male characters, and I've even to this day only used male characters. I found this to be very fun. Over time, you will find this to be very rewarding because each character here has good value. Even Sessa might have some sort of value because I'm not using every single character in the game. Bryo Feather is someone that the majority of you guys will never ever build. I've got to use him. He's not great, I'll be honest, but it's very fun to use new characters. If we take a look at this account, as you can see, we have some really good characters. I've been really trying to pull a lot of characters. It's took a long time. Ignore my masteries. Probably my favorite character on here is obviously Thorns. Very, very solid male character. I think Gnosis is probably one of the best, especially in harder content because his third skill, but you will find that also if you do a specific niche that, for example, like the male only one, pulling on banners is going to be a lot easier. For example, if there's a banner like the Mumu and Hollow Hayek banner, which I know a lot of people give me crap because I can't say her name, if that banner is actually here, I don't have to pull on it. That means I can save my pulls with male characters, not that many release along the way, so I have plenty of time to save. I can go into a store and then get myself some skins. It's a pretty enjoyable experience. Now, to just offer a bit of quick advice for picking a niche in the grand scheme of things, my best recommendation is to not actually limit yourself too much. I know you might have a lot of ideas for who you might want to pick and what type of niche to go for, but at the end of the day, you do want to try and have fun as well. That is pretty important in the grand scheme of things. So if you pick a niche with a very tiny amount of characters, you might be waiting a very long time just to get a new character. It's not that fun in the grand scheme of things. Or you might pick a niche that has a lot of flaws with it, a lot of problems where you might find yourself more frustrated than actually enjoying it. Some of the interesting ones that I can think of from the top of my head is, for example, Welfare Knights. Welfare Knights, for example, is basically using the 3 units in the game. This already actually looks quite fun and it's probably something I would actually do down the line. With the fair amount of characters that are available to you and, Vigil as well. I mean, if that hasn't sold you, I don't know what will. Of course, there is also other niches like the male only niche. This one has a lot of units as well, but doesn't limit you too much. You tend to have enough breaks between banners to get the majority of units, like I mentioned before. And there is actually quite a few characters in this niche that you will find you might never really use on a normal account. There is also waifu only, but I'm just going to say this now. If you plan on playing this is basically how Arknights was intended to play, let's be honest. Now, I think one niche that I know a lot of people actually do quite a bit just in general is 3 stars, 4 stars, or 5 stars only, because of course 6 stars in this game are very powerful and we most of the time use them for clearing stages, but some people just lower their rarities just so it could be for videos or it could just be to play through it. This is like a pretty good way to test how good you are at Arknights, because low rarity characters tend to not have as good kits as the 6 stars, especially in terms of stats, etc. I find this to be something that I couldn't really do because I am just not good enough. I don't have the patience to do this, but that is something that's very, very common, even just among normal clears. Now, just to avoid talking about every single niche in the game, because let's be honest, we could be here for a lot of hours just talk about every single niche that's out there. There's a lot of them, just straight up, there's a lot of them, but I want to talk about one niche that I know a lot of people do actually like and is quite popular among people. It's actually the Abyssal Hunter niche. Now, people don't tend to make accounts just around this, but people do tend to do clears with these. The main reason why I think this is actually quite interesting is because with these characters, certain characters, like for example Gladia, in her talent she gives a buff to other Abyssal Hunter characters. So you could have specific characters under certain factions that will basically work well together, and if you use them together, it will be kind of a different experience than if you just use them separately. I find that to be a quite interesting niche for clears. Like I said, I wouldn't recommend making an account around it, but if you can, maybe you'd enjoy that. A lot of people do love the Abyssal Hunter niche, and to be fair, it does look pretty cool. But those are really most of the niches that I'm really aware of. If you want to go ahead and take a look at some other niches, there are some really cool videos online, but I want people in the comments to let me know if you have a niche. Get some players take a look in the comments. Maybe some people have some really cool niches that might really bring up some ideas for you. Honestly, I really enjoy niche nights. There isn't really anything more deeper than that. I know some people can make arguments, and there is a very specific one I want to address here. The argument that you might forget about your main account or you might start playing on 2 accounts at once. I want to say if you want to make a niche nights account, I don't fully recommend playing 2 accounts at the same time. I would only recommend it when you've got bored of your main account, play a niche nights account then. I would not recommend playing 2 accounts at once because from my past experience trying to manage several accounts, it isn't incredibly difficult for some people. I found it to be not that bad, but the problem is that you will get bored of a game even quicker. If you're already bored of a game or you find it to be stale, playing 2 accounts at once is definitely not the way to go, and I don't think that's the best idea. Now, talk about you might forget about your main. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. If you're having more fun with your new account is the main thing that matters, at least in my opinion. Anyway, that pretty much does it for this video. If you did enjoy it, please do drop a like on this video. Honestly, it does help out so much. We do also have a Discord down below if you want to talk about niches there or really get any help or just talk about Arknights related things. Go ahead and join my Discord. We have a relatively active community on there, and honestly I find it to be a lot of fun hopping on the Discord and messaging you guys. Anyway, thank you for watching. I will see you next one, and most importantly, have a wonderful day, and most importantly, adios.